Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another My Hero Academia manga chapter review for you guys. And wow, wow. Holy shit. Wow. Insanity. Um, this was one of the best chapters in My Hero Academia. We find out some undergrounding dealings. We find out that apparently Dr. Uchiko and All for One, they were literally, they didn't just have Shigaraki to be a potential vessel for All for One. They had other children, other people and their bodies being prepped to become the next potential vessel for All for One. That was insane. And then the Dabi reveal of that he was one of those, chosen people. And we found out his true backstory to how he became Dabi, or Toya became Dabi. This chapter, man. Listen, people have been giving Horikoshi some shit for the way how the story's been rushed and stuff like that. And these are one of these chapters where I keep saying to people, let the man cook. Let the man do his business. Let him bring on his chapters. Yes, the story may be rushed, but as long as he gives us quality content in these chapters, it's gonna be great stuff. I can only imagine when this scene gets animated for the anime. Only scene, and obviously a lot of people, they've lost trust out of the anime with what season 5 did, which I already to tell them that season 5 was one of the best seasons of My Hero Academia. People are lying to you if they say it wasn't. Yes, quality production wise and in terms of how they managed the episodes, it wasn't the best, but it was still quality. And if you don't like that, well then you can freaking F off. I will defend season 5 till this day. But yeah, people complaining about this, about the chapters and being rushed. Again, let's talk about if this arc was bad, if these chapters were bad, when the entire arc, this entire story is done. People can't be patient and see and let these authors do their business and cook. It's just like the whole stuff in One Piece, how some people are upset about Luffy's new form and how it's being treated. Just be patient and let's see where the outcome happens. People have this whole grander scale of what they want to do. You want to do your own manga? Then go create your own manga and tell your own manga of how you would love to end your My Hero Academia story, or you want to tell the Luffy versus Kaido fight. I'll be over here licking my chops, enjoying the content we are getting here. We finally get the true backstory to Toya Todoroki / Dabi finally revealed of what happened to him after the fire incident and how the hell is he still alive, which even then dude's practically dead and somehow still alive. And so yeah, but anyways, let's get to this manga chapter. My Hero Academia manga chapter 350, titled Bound to a Fiery Fate. Now we're in the police we're in the police office, and Dr. Uchiko's in one of his cells, and essentially he's saying, I suppose the big day has begun. Now this gorilla looking dude is like, dude, shut up. And Dr. Uchiko goes on to say, you're light on guards today, so it's pretty obvious. All to prepare for today. That's why we sought out twisted raw material born into this world. And we cut over again back to the fight in Camino, and we saw that horrific chapter, how chapter 349 ended with Dabi using his fire and literally everything's burning up from him. And he goes on to say, Dr. Uchiko goes on to say, warp seeds that could serve as his vessel. So we cut back to 11 years ago. We're starting off when Toya went up to the mountain and he literally burned it to the ground, and he was presumed dead. And essentially he's like, it's so hot, but I want to show him my power. I don't want to die without showing him my power, and stuff like that. And you can see it in the panel how his jaw's falling off and everything. And Dr. Uchiko goes on to say that one too was born with some cracks in him. No, maybe from the very start it wasn't just cracks. Maybe that boy was born with everything. And then you get this panel where in this whole Fiery Mountain scene, you have it where you have the burnt body of frickin' Toya Dabi just lying there, literally dying pretty much. In the background, you see this man in a top hat and in a suit walking, who is presumed to, who I'm guessing we're presumably, that is All For One. So a lot of people throughout the thing, what if All For One actually has a connection to Dabi? And it looks like that's the case, which is just pure insanity, pure craziness. And anyways, then we cut over and Dabi wakes up. His jaw is all, back together and everything. And he's wondering where he's at. And he's looking like he's in this hospital area. And then he walks in and these two other kids are like, oh, Sleeping Beauty is finally waking up after 3 years. And we find out 3 years had passed. He's been in essentially like a freaking comatose state of sleep after this incident for the past 3 years, after the 11-year incident with him burning at the top of the mountain peak. And he's like recognizing the fact that his voice is all different and everything. And he's like, where am I? And he's like, oh, this is where we live. This one person calls the doctor. And when I tell you, I hope they do this really good in the anime. Like, I need to see this really good in the anime. They need to make the creepiness, the uneasiness, just the mad thing of making you feel like, am I watching a horror movie? Because that's what this feels like. And obviously, Dabi is just shocked, like, wait, 3 years since what happened on the mountain and everything. And then all of a sudden, in one of the most weirdest scenes where you as a reader are probably like, what the F? This man walks in and he's got a whole sunflower face and everything, and I'm reading this for the first time. I read the unofficial translations first of this chapter, and I saw this. I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like, are we in Five Nights at Freddy's or some weird place? I'm like, what the hell's going on here? This sounds something out of like some horror sphere, and stuff like that. So Dabi's like, I need to get back home, and this flower man's like, we can't have that. We can't have that now, can we, Sonny? And he's like, why not? And the flower man goes and say, no, well, you see, you live here now, you're with your own very place under the sun. We're your new family. And when I saw that, I'm like, this was kind of, I'm like, I wonder if they're going to take the element of like, they're going to keep him in like this weird place and that made him go crazy, but it's somewhat similar to that. But yeah, anyways, Toya is like, no, this can't be. I gotta go home. I gotta go see my dad and everything. I was just too busy with work. I'm like, he's probably just too busy with work to come see me and everything. And he's just like, yeah, that's gotta be the reason, right? I said some really bad things and I need to go home and apologize to him and mom and just say everything that I regret saying and stuff like that. And this monitor comes on and says, sadly, your hope is in vain, which presumably, I'm guessing we're thinking this is All For One, if not Dr. Uchiko, but I think it's one of the two. And the thing goes on to say, restoring your burnt and broken body was a monumental task. Your missing pieces had to be replaced via regenerative tissue. You were a changed man with the burn rictus look on your face, and yet you survived. And he goes on to, and Dabi goes on to say, I'm changed. I don't get what you mean. Essentially, we go on to find out from this thing is saying you never exhibit the firepower you once did because all your organs within your body was very badly damaged because of the burned stuff. Your senses and your ability to feel pain are all dulled. Your body is essentially at a weakened state. And he goes on to say, like, you're not going to be the same and everything. And he goes on to say, about a loss, despite our best efforts, we wanted to welcome you into with full strength and everything. And in the meantime, Dabi's just remembering all the past and everything. And he's like, you must be suffering, you poor thing. I might just be able to restore your flames to their full glory. Well, what do you say? Will you join our family and allow me to raise you? And Dabi's here is like, no, you will not do that. Only have one person that I'm being trained by, and that's my father, Endeavor. And he's just like, no way is that happening. We cut back to the present. Dr. Uchiko goes on to say he had already been too molded by his upbringing for us to lead him astray. He was already festering away inside. Even the man who had known control far and wide couldn't exploit the boy's obsession with his father. So he's obviously, Dr. Uchiko's obviously making the mention, like, Dabi had a incensed, like, obsession with Endeavor of wanting to be the favorite, wanting to be recognized by Endeavor, like, no, you can do this and stuff like that. That's all Dabi wanted to hear from Endeavor, is no, you will be stronger than all my, you're my greatest creation, and stuff like that. That's what Dabi wanted to hear. And that's why he has this crazy obsession with Endeavor. Anyways, Dr. Uchiko goes on to say those kids were our spares in case anything happened to Tomer Shigaraki, a seedbed of ferocity and hatred, one full of vessels for the Demon King. Dabi, as one of those spares, was a failed experiment. And this is when we get revealed that those kids in that hospital were being raised potentially to be the next vessel of All for One. If Shigaraki was not gonna be the vessel and he failed, which mind blowing, because that means these dudes have been plucking kids left and right as some sort of vessel, just to be like, we could use this kid. He got some potential here. He's had a rough patch here. Oh, this kid had a rough patch here. This kid had a rough patch. How effed up are All for One and Dr. Uchiko were? They were really doing some despicable things, literally using these kids to make them grow in captivity and grow hatred, to be able to find a way so they can get up so much that they can just be like, you're the next vessel for All for One. And they haven't revealed that Dabi was one of those those vessels. Insanity, just insanity. This goes far back. Some people even said, there was a scene where we saw for Overhaul, he was in some sort of captivity area. Some people are saying, like, what if that was the area Overhaul was in? And he was one of those potential people that could have been one of the backup plans. Insanity, just straight up insanity, man. Obviously, the police cop is like, that's despicable. How could you even do that? And stuff like that. And he goes on to say, it's like, more crap about how All for One had planned everything out from the start. Dr. Uchiko replies by saying, I'm saying they better watch out because that one boy never did what they were selling. He goes on to say, nah, we gave up on Dabi and let him run loose because after his body came back to life and he was up and about, he wasn't supposed to be alive. He wasn't supposed to live for more than 1 month. We get a little flashback of Dabi and Dr. Uchiko talking about the Hayanomu, and it goes on to say, and this whole scene goes on to say, what a surprise, when the broker brought him back to our doorstep, why had he come back? How was he still alive? And Dabi goes on to tell, he's like, Uchiko, you're the one that kept me alive. And we find out that, yes, Dr. Uchiko was the one that brought Dabi back to life, healed him up the best he could, and he kept him alive for all this time and stuff like that. And Dr. Uchiko goes and say, I had to know what Dabi was really thinking, so I arranged a moment when we'd just be alone, just the two of us. Dr. Uchiko responds to Dabi's point in this flashback saying, well, I'm tickled you realize that it's pink. Realize now that, tell me what's been keeping you kicking. Seeing this walking corpse here gives me a decent idea of what you people were planning to do with me. And now, back then, because that seemed like the perfect place for my funeral. So essentially we find out that All for One and Dr. Uchiko could have turned Dabi into a freaking Nomu, which is insane. Like, straight up insane. He could have been a Nomu to begin with. So, yeah. And then, obviously, because of that, Uchiko's like, that one glimpse gave me everything. He'd kept his dying body tethered to this world through a pure blazing grudge. Cut back to the present, and he goes and say, Dabi goes and say, Shoto, I did come home, actually, because Todoroki asked, him, like, why didn't you come home? And Dabi's like, you see, I actually did come home. Even though I was weaker than ever, and there was no way that I was hoping for there, no way that what I was hoping for was there. But I was sure something must have changed. I wanted to see it all. And, Dabi's running back home. He's thinking, like, my father's gonna, recognize me. He's gonna see me. He's gonna love me and everything. And then he gets home, and he not only sees his altar where, the picture where the Todoroki family thinks that Dabi is dead, or Toya is dead. He also comes across seeing Endeavor and Shoto training, and he goes on to say, after 3 years away, I witnessed that old familiar scene. So he actually watched this, and his hatred grew. He goes on to say, the reason I was born, the fact is, as a failed creation, my life had been pointless. The family had left me behind in their past. When you surpass your limits, it's like everything you've built up is flipped around upside down. I focused on holding my flame so I wouldn't be weak the next we met. The body of mine kept peeling away and falling to pieces, and as he's doing it, he's lighting up his fire, and literally it's like his whole arm is starting to disintegrate because he's just burning, he's just going like crazy and everything. But I never felt a thing. Dabi goes on this continues, like, you want to battle moves, I've seen them all over and over, and one of Endeavor's sidekicks is like Todoroki. I think, or Shoto, he's like, listen, I think, and Todoroki is like, yeah, he's prepared to die from the start. So we find out Dabi doesn't even care at this point. He's, as long as he does what he needs to do to accomplish, if he goes down dying doing it, then he honestly is happy with it. He doesn't care. Dabi at this point, he really has no more motivation to live. He's just like, I don't care if my body burns me and kills me. As long as I can take you out and take away my father's greatest creation and have some constant pain to Endeavor in some sort of way, and I die doing it, then I feel like I accomplished whatever I wanted. Dabi goes on to say, every time that thing saved the city, every time that thing, he doesn't call him his father, he calls him that thing, got a boost in popularity, my heart kept pounding away. Ever since the day that Toya died, and Dabi was born, and we see a scene where he was right there at his altar, and that's when he killed off the Toya persona in him, and he became Dabi, and stuff like that. Dr. Uchiko goes on to say, all for one who seeks to live forever had no use for that mad heat rushing headlong toward death. And again, like I said, I don't know how the anime is going to do this. You get this just insane scene as Dabi heats up his flames. He stands on top of the All Might statues, melting it with his overbearing heat, and his whole body is literally burning a flame like crazy. Like, dude is straight all muscular. I'm like, horrifying scene. The anime, they gotta hit the nail on the head on this one. And Dr. Uchiko goes on to say the demon lord himself had to abandon that frenzy flame of death. And Dr. Uchiko was saying, like, this man Dabi is so crazy and he wants to die so badly that he just gave up on him. He even abandoned him. He's like, you know what, screw this guy. He's not for me. Sorry, I can't use this guy. So yeah. And the chapter ends off with Dabi essentially saying, once I've burned all away, all that thing holds near, let me re-say that again. Dabi ends the chapter off saying, once I've burned away all that thing holds near and dear, that will be the mark I've left on this world. And Todoroki's like I said, big brother, not on my watch. And they both prepare to use Flash Fire Heat Fist. As the battle starts, chapter ends. We have a break. So yeah. I also forgot to mention, they also gave Dabi different body parts of different, people, and that's why they say that's why they explain his body's weaker too. Yeah, that was a lot. This chapter was insane. The backstory of Toya/Dabi is pretty damn tragic. But that's some of the events with an abusive household that can potentially happen, and Dabi got the worst of it. And man, to find out that Dabi at this point really doesn't care to live, like he literally is like, I don't care if I kill you, Shoto, and my father or that thing Endeavor takes so much grief in about it. Well then, I'll have won, and I don't care what happens to me. So I literally believe, like, there's always speculation, like, are some of the people on the villain side gonna die? I think Dabi's gonna probably die. I really do believe now after seeing this chapter, I'm 100% convinced Dabi is going to die. He is going to die. He's gonna die burning himself up again and stuff like that, and it's gonna be insane. But this was a great chapter. Insanity, just pure insanity. I cannot wait for this is animated. See, this is gonna be one of these episodes whenever the anime finally adapts it, is when I'm like, no, this needs to be perfect, because this was perfect in the manga. They need to hit the nail on the head. But yes, this whole Dabi stuff is finally over. So now we got the true backstory to Dabi, to Toya Todoroki. So answers are now revealed, and man, craziness. So I'm gonna get out of here. If you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this week's manga chapter from My Hero Academia. What are your thoughts on All for One having these other spare vessels, as well as your backstory on the complete backstory of Toya Todoroki, and stuff like that. As well as hit that subscribe button when you get more My Hero Academia content or any other anime content or manga content I upload to the channel. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or night in this video. Until then, guys, see you guys later. Peace.